Okay, we'll go in 5, 4, 3, 2. George DeNardo, big morning for you.
Yes, it is. I'm very excited about it. I've been with AYR for some time, and I look forward to continue to work with the leaders of the organization.
And you were one of the leaders of the organization before today. Where are you coming from? And the new title is president, but what were you doing, I guess, Sunday as opposed to Monday?
Yep. So I was the chief operating officer for AYR. I joined them in November of 23. We really, great leaders worked throughout the year of 24 on setting a foundation, which makes me very excited about 2025.
Well, if it was November 23 and now we're in January of 25, that is approximately a decade in cannabis.
Yeah, it does feel that way, doesn't it?
It does. You didn't even have gray hair way back in 23. What were you doing? We'll get to the AYR part of what you're doing now, but what were you doing prior to this? I'm always interested to get sort of that context.
Yep. So, I have experience from telecom, aerospace, industrial, oil and gas. I entered the cannabis industry in 2018, formerly with Columbia Care, the cannabis company. And I started off really with Pennsylvania with them on the retail side. And then I moved over to retail and cultivation and manufacturing, primarily the East Coast and the Midwest. So been in it since 2018. Well, it doesn't seem as complex as some of those other industries. It is not an easy operating business, especially if you are in more than one state, because it's more than one operation. How do you think about sort of the operations of a cannabis company the size of AYR in multiple states, multiple different offering, retail brands, cultivation, manufacturing, processing? Like, how complex is it, say, vis-a-vis oil and gas or aerospace or anything else that you've been involved in? Well, when you look at the cannabis industry compared to the other ones, there's differences. And I think in the cannabis industry, we try to make it sound that there's a wide gap between other industries, but there's not. Standardization, getting processes in place, manufacturing efficiencies, all the same principles apply. It's just, we're dealing with plant material versus, standard widgets. And it's there's some intricacies there. But with really establishing a great foundation with the processes, different packaging, there's some nuances, but, when I do hydrocarbon extraction in one state versus another state, the same principles apply. So
it's just some of those other industries have decades, scores of years or hundreds of years of all those processes working themselves out, as opposed in real time from November 23 to January 25. My guess is things both change dramatically, but also, things change in each state too, regulatory or what consumers want or what the company wants to be producing and manufacturing.
They do. Your demographics change, the product formats change. There's innovation, I think, both independents as well as MSOs, they've done a great job really over the past several years on innovation of new products and product forms, and really the implementation of some of the quality standards. It's something that probably didn't exist to the level that it does today, and it's the constant evolution of learning from other industries, applying that internally, and then making sure that everyone is working together in order to be successful.
And that seems to me a certainly large part of your Sunday portfolio, which was chief operating officer. And now as president, like, how much of that portfolio is going to stay with you? What does it mean to sort of expand that? Like, has that all been worked out sort of within you and within AYR?
It has, and it's, what we're looking for in 2025 is really a unification between what I will call back of house and front of house. As and we talked about it earlier, demographics change, product formats change. We want to make sure that we're actually getting that information from our revenue drivers. And we've got phenomenal leaders within our retail and our wholesale business, Jamie Mendola and Julie Winter, and making sure that we're getting that feedback from them and incorporating it into our practices in the back of house within the cultivation,
which strains are gaining popularity, what products are gaining popularity. So by putting it underneath one umbrella, that would allow us to react better to the market in 2025.
That's what I was going to ask. When you have sort of the full run of the supply chain, does it make changes easier, more rapid? You can iterate things better. Like, is that one of the benefits of being the size of AYR and being sort of vertically integrated?
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm not sure it's really about the speed. I don't think there's a change in speed. I think there's a change in communication and making it much more clear and much more decisive. I probably talk to Jamie and Julie probably on a daily basis. So, we've already sort of started migrating to that unification. And we're just going to continue to move ahead in 2025.
And thinking about, I guess, the past year, but also looking ahead, like how fickle is not the right word, but how frequently does that change? Like how do consumers in a market that is 2 years old look a lot different than 1 year old? Like, does the competition change within that same time horizon in markets that are older where you've been a long time? Whether it's does it change like a lot towards the beginning and less as things go, or is it a consumer base and a patient base that is constantly changing?
I would say the product formats are, edibles has really gained up speed over the past several years. So I wouldn't say it's on a quarterly basis or semi-annual. Product formats are, they haven't changed. They've been the same in the industry for quite some time. Mm-hmm. However, when you go down to the state level, as additional competitors open up, dispensaries, you start seeing some of the different brands as well as product formats really picking up steam and trying to understand what those trends are. 2024, we really took a look at our brand portfolio and focused in on Haze, Kind, and Later Days. And we redid all of our hardware to industry leading hardware. We've really developed some of our concentrates, and it's that really focus on what brands do we want to really work with and get people used to those brands and building up that, getting more folks familiar with them as we work with our wholesale partners.
Yeah. And it takes time, right? Like it takes time from any brand to get in a foothold with the customer base, and then maybe, expanding that brand to other formats or other packaging or, multi-packs, like whatever that might be. I've seen that in other markets too, other companies. It's just, consumers take time, right? I think there's a famous saying, which I will butcher, that consumers don't always know what they want, but helping build that information for them and consistency is really important. I guess that's also part of the question is, one of the knocks against the cannabis industry overall is that the sort of consistency can be relatively all over the place. And how do you sort of hone that in within a company? I mean, obviously coming from the chief operating role into the president, like how do you sort of hammer that home, that consistency is where the business is?
Well, I mean, and that's something that I've, since joining AYR and also with my former employer, I mean, it's quality and consistency. Putting different names on the packages. I know the industry talks about CPG. We're still not at that point because you can't grow across state lines. So, it's making sure that you're focusing on your brands within your state, but it's the consistency and quality. So as more states convert over from medical to adult use, you want to be able to, someone to walk into our Massachusetts dispensary, buy a product, and know when they walk into our Jersey dispensary, they're going to get the same quality and consistency. We have, really in 2024, really standardized all of our SOPs from extraction to cultivation to packaging, and making sure that we're creating that unification across our portfolio with that quality and consistency.
Yeah, it's really important, especially I was talking to someone, I don't know, last week, that when the industry developed in Colorado and California, and even the West Coast states, like very few people cross state lines on a daily, weekly, monthly basis necessarily, certainly in their car out West. Whereas in New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, like Pennsylvania, like people are doing it on a daily or sometimes multiple times a day basis. And so the consistency, as you're talking about around adjacent or close states, is really important to create that unifying sort of brand portfolio.
Yep. And even within the states are, they're constantly evolving, with the regulators. I mean, Ohio, we're recently converted to adult use, and then as they allow additional product formats, making sure that we're keeping in close contact with the regulators and making sure that we know when the rules are going to be created, and so we can execute very quickly on it.
Yeah. It's so important. And I want to ask you, actually, like, thinking about 2025 and the relative size of AYR, relative size of other companies, both smaller and larger, like, is there a sweet spot for a size of a cannabis company that is not massive, but also not tiny, where you can talk about the feedback loop you're talking about, like get feedback from retailers about consumers are wanting? Or is it like for AYR, it's this size? Like, I've always wondered, is it like, is massive growth, for the sake of growth, or is there a sweet spot within a size of a company that allows you to do the things you need to do?
Well, I mean, look, I think there is a sweet spot. I mean, in cannabis, anyone who's been in the industry knows that we're sitting there waiting for, historically, always waiting for either the Democrats or the Republicans to come forward with regulations that don't penalize us the way they do now. Really, 2025 is our focus of we can't worry about that. We need to operate our company within, the standards that are here today. And it's really about getting our operations to an efficiency level that regardless of if we stay the same size, if we grow, if we decrease, that we're operating effectively. And that's really our focus, is making sure that, as the saying goes, talk about, control the things that you control. Don't worry about the things that you can't. We have to worry about what we can control. And that's our business as of today.
Yeah. That's the benefit of upgrading the chief operating officer to president, is that sort of mindset and ethos sort of gets carried up as you move up. But George, I want to thank you. You have obviously a busy day. You got to get moved into a new office. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I think you're in your office, right? I appreciate the time this morning, and good luck in the new role.
No, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I'm excited about it. And again, phenomenal leaders, Brad Asher, Jamie Mendola, Julie Winter, Paul Fisher. We have a great team. And I look forward to us all working together in 2025 on the execution.
Amazing. We look forward to checking with you along the way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, George.
Take care.